Hey guys, welcome to Fishing Tackle Channel. Uh, Here's another trip, fishing trip video from a couple years ago that I haven't edited till now. This boat is Anglers Deep Sea Fishing out of Ocean City, Maryland. And here I'm using, my gears are Shimano Osea Infinity rod on here. That's the rod. It's a jigging, slow pitch jigging rod, and then the reel is a Shimano grappler, I believe. I have more detailed video on the grappler on my channel, so please check that out. So I think this is 2022 fall for an 8-hour trip. And let me see what else. I'm wearing a glove from Cast King. That glove, I don't know if I did a review, but it kind of sucks. It's thin. I guess for summer trip it's okay, but I just don't like it. It doesn't have much padding, and even with the gloves on, I had somewhat of a blister on my finger after 8 hours of nonstop fishing. But that's something that I don't recommend. So on this trip, it wasn't that crowded. I think I may have gone on Friday on purpose. Again, if you go on Saturday on Anglers or even Sundays, it'll be a packed boat. I believe these days, even Mondays and Fridays are sold out as well. But you'll see how, based on my last video and this video, it's the captain does a great job putting you on fish. And here, that's exactly what happened. Every time I drop, whether it was a slow pitch jig, earlier I used a slow pitch jig, and I should have, because I was catching, it was pretty thick, I think, with school of the sea bass, so I should have just slow pitched without any bait, but I think I put some clam or squid, so I was catching a lot of small ones. But it it wasn't doing so well, I mean, size-wise, so I decided to switch it up to just the regular, what is it? Fresh bait that they gave us. For anglers, they gave us clams and squid. So if you go on some of these boats, like Ocean City, I think they only give you, I mean, not Ocean City, Ocean Princess, I think they only gave us clam. They gave us salted and fresh clams. I don't think they give us squid, but it depends what's available. And for anglers, their usual baits are the clams and or squid. They don't give you shiners. Those are usually given on Delaware boats. Delaware boats is a little bit more expensive, but I guess you get what you pay for, because if you go on Delaware, whether Fisherman's Wharf or Judy V, Captain Bob, um, their trip, they give you a variety of shiners and squid and clams, so you get a lot more variety of baits up there. So again, this trip, it's like every time I drop, I think I limited out, and I don't think I limited out on this boat because on this trip, because I think there were so many weeding out small fish. And again, now I know, like I have a better sense of doing it. But I was just having fun, and I kept, spending most of my time catching the smaller ones. So I think I've used this. I've used a slow pitch jig, and it wasn't working so. I mean, it wasn't working so well. I didn't pitch without any bait on there, and I kept getting doubles and not many keepers. And then I was using fresh bait right here, like here on clams, and I was getting a lot of small one, I think. But I did wind up getting at least 10 to 12. It was getting hot. Um, at some point, I was getting a lot of keepers, so I went home with about 10 or a dozen keeper size fish. And again, this is, I think, after the regulation went up to 13 inches. So there are a lot of close ones. I would have probably limited if we had the sea bass minimum size at 12 and a half, because a lot of them were like 12 and a half or 13 on the mark. So just a warning for you guys, if even if you get like uh, perfect 13 inches, once you ice them or once you put it in your cooler, it will shrink. So just keep that in mind. So if you do get exactly 13 inch, you're gonna lose about point couple inches, which why if you do get caught by the Coast Guard or regulators, you're going to pay around $500 per fish or something like that. I think there's a big fine. So if you're not too sure, just check with the deck hands, because deck hands will measure it for you, and if it's way too close, they'll recommend throwing it back if they think it's good enough, that you won't get in trouble. If it's right on the 13 inch, though, then just listen to the deck hand and keep it. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend keeping anything that is at least 13, little over 13, couple, quarter of an inch or something like that. Um, yeah, I was surprised. A lot of people, I think maybe because they're just sticking to their baits, and some of them, the regulars, I think, were fishing for flounder. I don't know if they caught any flounder. I'm pretty sure a couple people caught their flounder, but on this trip, I decided I was going to stick to sea bass, because the captains usually on the anglers, they're known for being a sea bass boat. Mm. So although there's going to be flounders, and a lot of people, they go for the flounder. I've seen them get their limits, which is four. But now it's harder with, I think it used to be like 16 and a half or something like that. Now it's like over 17 inch. Check online for those regulation, or just ask the deckhand. But here, I switched up to the shad, Berkeley Gulp shad right there. And one of the reason now I realize is that when you present it in drop shot and drop it in there, those gulp shad looks exactly like, very similar color wise and size wise, as well as shape, looks very similar. I should film it next time. Side by side looks just like sand eel. So I think that's one of the reason I kept catching. Once the bait wasn't biting, I switched over to the plastic, the the Berkeley shad. I think Berkeley gulp shad is what it is. Used to cost like 375 2 years ago, but Walmart decided, it's not even inflation, these corporations, they decided they're going to up the price, right? Because they can. So now it costs like $6. They double the price, which is ridiculous, because I haven't, but the good thing is I stocked up, so I have like at least a dozen packs that I bought it for around 350 online. But yeah, I just don't buy it. So that's what I recommend. I don't know why people complain about prices. I just don't buy it, and I stick to cheaper price, because there's always going to be somebody, especially the small businesses, that will try to be competitive. And here's another shout out to like Uncle Mo's tackle. Is, if you haven't seen the video, they have very good competitive prices because they are a small business, fairly new tackle business that they've launched, and they're trying to take some of these customers away from these bigger corporations, right? Online sales from Amazons and so forth. I think Nomad, I think, is definitely a bigger company now. I don't know if they're a big corporation, but definitely they upcharge you a lot. I'm pretty sure there's some importing tariff or some kind of a tax involvement, as well as shipping, but it's quite expensive. And, you know, like this shad, I'm glad I stocked up. So if you buy something affordable, just stock up. That's why Uncle Mo's jigs that I bought, I stocked up already. I have like over 20 jigs. That will be good for the whole year and next year as well for a while. So I can't wait for them to come up with new type of jigs that I'll be waiting to buy and review as well. But here I stick to the shad, and it's definitely working. It's aggressively biting. And again, this is sea bass, right? Um, they are going to they are feeding based on their instinct. So um, their instinct is looking for sandio, and I think most of the people using clam or squid weren't having as much luck. So the guys next to me were complimenting that I was definitely out catching the rest of the boats, and I think um, while most of the people, some of the people that were going for sea bass, they're all getting shorts. Again, that's one of the things you have to make adjustments. If anybody asked me for what I was using, and I would have been more than happy to let them use my baits. I had a couple packs of shad, so I would have been more than happy to share those with them. But people just like to stick to what they know, and I think most of them were just sticking to the fresh clam baits. And here, I decided I was getting pretty good keepers, but I wanted something like a jumbo size fish. So bigger the bait, and the bigger the fish you'll probably catch, right? So I decided to switch it up and put this long, huge pink. I think this is about, I mean, it's like the one on the bottom is the shad, Berkeley shad, gulp shad. It was about 5 inch or 6 inch. The pink one, what's the company? I don't. If you're interested, leave a comment. I'll look for the name of the company. But that one was around 7 or 8 inch long, and they were definitely getting bites. And then it was definitely reading out the smaller ones because it couldn't swallow it. So I would jig, and this one is that a keeper size? I am using a wide angle, so everything looks much smaller. This one's not even close. So going back. And since I have had using these shad, I've had flounders. Never a keeper, but I've caught a handful of flounders using these shads as well. So while drifting or even anchoring, I tend to jig like for flounder and and works for various fish, including sea bass. I guess the action itself while drifting, it definitely attracts the attention of the fish. So even if the fish are not feeding, they will instinctively, maybe they're protecting or being territorial or whatnot, they'll hit it. So it was a nonstop hit. I kept getting hit. Another reason I usually switch to jig or one of these shad is because the live bait, like clams and squid, yeah, these sea bass will steal it. They'll be very careful. And look how full this fish is. It's like spitting out crab and all kinds of stuff. It was just full, but then they're still attacking, right? Um, so that's one of the things to consider. It doesn't work all the time, but the one of the reasons I would use something like that is to get more attention than fresh baits. I think fresh baits, the scent of it itself will attract it, but when you use these kind of shats that look like represents a sand eel, it will definitely get attention of other fish that may not be that aggressive or active. And again, the captain's the captain is looking at his fish finder and he sees a lot of school of fish. and people wonder why they're not catching any. Just because some of them are full. You saw how it was spitting out all kinds of um, food, like crabs and shrimp out of it, out, and the stomach's like completely full. And they're just inactive. Maybe because it's deep and it's cold, they're not as inactive. So um, I think I probably on here. I think I lost the rig itself. So rather than re-rigging, I think I went back to the rig that was available for me and went back to using a fresh bait. So that one's too close, so I threw that back into the water. Let's see. This is a big one. I always I could feel it. You could hear the drag. So those are the drags that some of the reels have. I wish all the reels have these drag noises to give you a sense of whether you are reeling it in or if the fish are fighting. But I kind of expected when it wasn't fighting hard enough that it was going to be double. I think one was a keeper here. Let's see. And I here one of the thing that I want to emphasize is when you do rig yourself, I would say get the best like Mustad and or Gamakatsu type of brand name hooks. And here's my first tangle of the day.
Where?
Um,
That's my hook. Oh,
using
yeah.
switching over to using a flounder rig, of
Oh,
course, right?
yeah.
So a lot of
That's like,
people, you know, for this trip, I didn't get any tangle. I think that was the only tangle I had for the whole day. So I had a pretty good day.
yeah, for a small puppy, I guess.
I don't know what I'm
Like
saying
it's a
here.
sea bass.
I think someone was asking about,
Or someone's line?
someone was saying
Oh,
about how well I'm catching
what
or
size
giving me a compliment.
sea bass?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, they're so aggressive at some point. I think
Oh,
this
no.
was
Okay.
at the end of the trip, and I had made the last drop for a flounder. I caught a keeper sea bass here. I was hoping it was a flounder. It was a nice size,
Hey,
easy
Steve.
keeper. Oh no, it wasn't an easy keeper. I
Oh,
asked Steve,
okay.
the deckhand. Say it looks good. So again, if it's too close,
Well,
ask.
got
Um,
the last.
but it was an overall good trip. So if you have any questions, let me know. Um, I hope to get out there. This year hasn't been a good trip for every boat out there, but hopefully the fall trip will get much better. Talk to you guys later.